Hello everybody. In this video we're going to cover static variables. Um, we will kind of touch on how they work in classes, how they work in a function and between two files. So I have a little setup here. Two files, as you can see, variable demo, global count. This file is pretty straightforward. All it has is a little increment function with a static global counter. All right, and so static. What does static mean? In this context, it means that it is it's kind of static, as in like it's persistent. It's persistent for this file. So from here, I cannot see this variable, but I can see this function. When I call this function can see this variable. But as you can see, I'm going to collapse just for a second here. On this side, we also have a global counter defined. So you can see same name, two different files. So why did I do that? I did that to show that this variable is not the same as this variable. This is local to this file, and this is local to this file. Well, actually, this is not as local because it's not defined as static. This would be treated in the same way that this one is. And I just defined a couple just to show that they're kind of the same depending on some subtle differences depending on how you're using them. So simple usage, you may not even notice the difference. But if you're working across a big project with multiple files, then you'll start to see where they're different. Okay, so um, another one, we have a var in function. We're defining a static variable here within this function. Now, why? Why would you do such a thing? Why does it need to be static here? Well, I don't see this very often, but one use would be something like this, where you can see how many times a particular thing was called. So what's the use in that? Well, it depends on the context, but you know, it could be useful to know how many times a particular variable is being called, maybe for debugging, maybe for some logic, you know. But that will make it work every time you call this. It will keep track of that for you, right? And it's a global thing that you can see, global in the sense that you can see it outside of this function. So then we're going to print some counters. We got a bunch of stuff to find down here, and then we'll work our way up to the class stuff. So in the beginning, let's just stick with this for now, and I'm going to run this. So actually, let's step through it first. Okay, so first I'm going to print counters, which is here. We're just printing out these counters, right? And these are just variables defined. One is static, the other two are not. And again, this has the same name as this. So we want to keep track of that because this one will not be incremented. You can see that here where it prints out global counter should be this value. And here within our counter, my global counter should not. It should have a separate value that's being tracked. So we're just incrementing. I'm just showing that these kind of behave as you would expect for a normal variable. And then these are incrementing our global counter here, this guy. And you'll see that, and you'll see that it has a value of 3 when it gets to here. Then we'll call this. We'll see that every time we call it, it will increment there. And then here, increment counter is actually defined here, right? So this is where we'll see that this global counter being printed out is not the same as this global counter. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. And if you haven't noticed, this, what is up with my terminal? There we go. This now includes both of the files. So when you're doing your compilation step, adding both of those here, in case you hadn't noticed that. And I like to point out, I'm using this to execute so as not to be confusing. So let's hit enter. Okay, so kind of a lot of output, but what did we do? First, we printed our counters, right? So they all started as 0, nothing. Okay, then we incremented the normal counters, and then we did this 3 times for the global counter for this file, right? So what do we see? We see counter 1 is 1, other counter is 1, which is as expected. It's just kind of normal behavior. And then my global counter here is 3. Okay, so keep that in mind, 3. 3 in this file in this file, it should still be 0. We haven't seen that yet, but you will see soon. Okay, so then we've called our var_in function 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and we see below it increments each time, called 1, 2, 3, right? We are counting each time, and it's keeping track for us. But as you can see, it's not. This is not defined outside anywhere else. It's just within this function. So anytime you call this function, that would contain the same variable, same value within the variable. Sorry, I went too far. And then we did our increment counter. And increment counter, again, is defined here in our other file, right? And so that it was called twice, and you get a 1 and a 2. All right. So the first time it added 1, printed. Second time added again and printed. Right. So you can see that variable is 1 and 2, not 3. Right. They are different. And so that would be kind of a global thing for this file only. This file cannot see that variable. Okay, next part. Let's take a look at the way it works within a class. So I have a kind of very simple, student class. This is the default constructor. This is another one with a name. And as you can see, every time we are creating something with a constructor, we are adding to this count, right? And this is the deconstructor, in case you've never seen that before, but that's what's called when something is destroyed, right? And so you can see there it's taking away from that count. So we'll see down below here. Let's go ahead and get rid of these uncomment here, and maybe we can get rid of these to clear up our output. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to define 2 students, and then we're going to see our count, which should be 2. Then we're going to define another student in the different way with the constructor passing in a variable. Then we will then see again what the count was. It should go up to 3. Then we're going to remove the student and clean up a little bit. And then from here, you should see that after the removal, when this deconstructor is called, that removed 1 from the count of the total students. It kind of behaves as you might expect, right? Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay, here we are. Okay, so student count. Here, again, we define 2. We see the count being printed out here, and you got a 2. We added another guy here, Bort, our friend Bort, and we got 3. We then removed Bort, dropping Bort from the class. He has not turned in any assignments, so he's gone. So now we only have 2 students. So as you can see, it's the same idea, but it's then attached to a class, right? So any class of a thing. So this is good for, this is a legitimate use. Say you were building a system, you're tracking students, building a student database or something like that, or in like a game could be useful, something like that, where the type of thing you might want to know how many of that thing was created, or track a particular variable only for that given thing, and it will work in that way, and that's tracked along with the class itself, not global to everything else. Okay, so that was just a quick rundown. Hopefully wasn't too out there, and was useful. So join me again next time, and you guys have a great day. See you later.